Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of the Edlow Podcast. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Shout out to Vietnam. Apparently, 20% of my downloads last month were from Vietnam. So I don't know what that's all about, but welcome, welcome Vietnam. Anyway, but I'm excited. So we just had WrestleMania weekend for wrestling fans. Huge. It's just the mecca, everything going on, and I have the king, the guy. I have the guy who was a part of it all. I have Vince Russo here to talk about it. You just came back from WrestleMania weekend, isn't that true?
Yeah, I did. I did WrestleCon. The last WrestleCon I did was about 10 years ago. Then we had a big show with JCW. Then from there, we had a show in LA the next night, and then we had a show in Tempe, Arizona the following night. That was kind of my run.
So you had a triple shot.
We had three. We had
Yeah.
New Mexico. We had Albuquerque last
Mhm.
night, but bro, there was no more gas left in my tank, man. So like, I had to miss the Albuquerque show, but I did, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
So how long has it been since you've traveled that much for
Oh,
shows?
bro, this is the part I hate the most about it, and this is why, like, when everybody talks about, I wanna work for AEW, I wanna work for the W. Oh my God, bro. There is no way I can do this on a weekly basis. I wouldn't even attempt it. I wouldn't even try it. With JCW, it's a couple of days a month, and
Mhm.
it's one trip. We go out once a month. Bro, if I had to do this every week, there's absolutely no way I could do it.
Man, yeah. Well, by all accounts, Stranglemania, that you had during the collective at WrestleMania weekend, I saw that it started at what, 1 AM?
Yeah.
And you guys drew like 500 people at 1 in the morning.
Yeah, bro. It started at about 1 o'clock. It didn't end till like 4:30. And keep in mind, bro, we had to go to LA for a show the next day.
Dang.
So it was very, very tough travel, man.
Reminiscent of your days in the WWE, I'm sure, right? Where you
Yeah,
just town
yeah,
to town.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. Travel's the worst part of it, man. It really, really is.
Yeah. That's Man, so well, we'll talk about the Stranglemania show, but I wanted to get your thoughts. So we just had WrestleMania weekend, lots of different views of what WrestleMania, WrestleMania night 1 versus night 2. During your time, was there any thoughts that you had about the stories that came out of WrestleMania and anything that you saw that you liked or didn't like?
Bro, I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
Mhm.
I have not I have probably seen 1 or 2 WrestleManias in the last 30 years.
Wow.
I did
Okay.
not watch WrestleMania. I
Wow.
had I had no interest in WrestleMania. I wasn't gonna sit there and watch it, definitely for 2 nights.
Mhm.
The way I cover it is, I go online and I see what I gotta see, and I read about what I gotta read about, but
Mhm.
I'm not gonna sit there and watch, you know, entrances and commercials, and I'm just not interested. I mean, literally, I just have no interest, but I know enough about it to be able to talk about it. Bro, like, here's the thing to me, like, this is my takeaway. Bro, they just keep going back to the same old, same old. Like, Cody Rhodes is still the champ. And then, we go back to Liv Morgan. And now
Mhm.
we go back to Rhea Ripley. And, we go back to Becky Lynch. It's like, bro, we've done all this. And
Mhm.
and the part that really sucks about it, bro, is there's no stories, man.
Mhm.
So we just keep rotating feuds and angles, and who's going to get a shot at the belt. It's all about the wrestling when the wrestling is fake.
Mhm.
And that's why casual fans don't watch wrestling anymore. They know the matches are fake. So they're not going to watch a wrestling match for wrestling's sake. They
Mm,
want a story, man. They want freaking characters. You mean to tell me if you go with Boba Fett, whatever his name is, against Roman Reigns, there's not going to be no story involved in that. That's going to
mm,
be a straight up wrestling match. Everything, CM Punk and Reigns was a straight up, like everything is a straight up wrestling match. And who gives a shit, bro? This stuff isn't real. Freaking CM Punk and Roman Reigns can go out there every week and throw barbs at each other. Guess what, bro? At the end of the day, you're going to go out there and have a fake wrestling match.
mm.
So, like, who gives a shit? The only way you're going to hook people is through an intriguing story. Bro, how you hook a casual fan is, bro, a casual fan always wants to know, how are they going to get out of this?
Mm.
Who they going to put over? Like, that's what they want to know. And in order for them to get to that point, they got to care about it first.
Yeah. It was interesting. I was thinking about this. There's a couple of different thoughts I wanted to ask you about on that. So the big match, and I was excited for it because I'm a hardcore, I've been on the indie scene wrestling, and then also on top of that, I've watched it my whole life. I read the dirt sheets and all that stuff, so I know what's going on behind the scenes a little bit. So for me, the CM Punk Roman Reigns, CM Punk left and talked a bunch of trash about Roman Reigns, and then Roman Reigns has a dynasty behind him. And then just so you know, I mean, you might have read about it, but I thought it was kind of cool that they did the whole thing where the big pomp and circumstance, and they show all of the bloodline, like all the Samoan dynasty people, and then Roman Reigns comes out, and then they start with CM Punk's indie music, and then he comes out, like, kinda showing, like, his legacy is the Samoans, and then my legacy, his legacy is the indies.
Right.
I thought that was cool, but a casual fan has no idea what any of that is, right?
Absolutely. Bro, I'm in the business, bro, just to be honest with you, I'm in the business.
Mhm,
When CM Punk was cutting that promo about McAfee and talking about his agent,
mhm,
I didn't know Ari Emanuel was his agent. How the
right,
if I don't know that in the business, how is a casual fan is gonna be sitting at home saying, "Who's his freaking agent?"
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
right, yeah, so that that was interesting. What do you think now? You never had an opportunity, at least from what I remember, you never really had a opportunity to work with Brock Lesnar.
No, never,
It appears that he retired. It sounds like nobody knew that was gonna happen. They were expecting it to happen this summer. Seeing his length of his career as someone who's been in the business and seen the way he was booked and everything, what did you think of that moment?
Yeah, bro, I gotta tell you, man, I was talking about this yesterday with, Coach, Jonathan Coachman.
Mhm,
Bro, I really I feel bad for Brock
mm,
because, bro, this also, we're at a time now where now a lot more is starting to come out about Brock and, Vince and,
mhm,
the lawsuit and the NDAs. And bro, from everything I'm reading, think about this for a second and think about the legacy of Brock Lesnar. And, bro, Brock really is a good old country boy that sticks to himself and all that stuff. Think about this, though, from everything we're reading now, it was Vince McMahon who brought Brock into this story. Brock Lesnar, I promise you, Brock Lesnar did not say, "Hey Vince, you got any pieces of ass on the side?" Like, Vince McMahon brought Brock's name into this. And
mm,
Vince McMahon was the one that text messaged Brock. And, he kind of, got Brock involved. Man, bro, if I'm freaking Brock and now this is what I have to deal with, because whether Vince thought it was funny or whatever Vince's warped sense of humor was, man, that's a lot of shit that Brock had to deal with that he probably didn't deserve.
mm,
And man, if I'm Brock Lesnar, man, I don't owe this company anything because, here I am now. I'm at the end of my run. I got a family, I got kids, I got children, and I got to deal with this shit because you dragged me into it. I think that's a pile of bullshit, bro. So if they thought the retirement was going to be at SummerSlam and this was kind of Brock's way to shove it up their ass, good for him, bro. Good for him because if a company or an individual in the company did that to me, I would want to get out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah, so a couple of things there. First of all, one, I agree with you that he should be able to do whatever he wants. I mean, they're still independent contractors, and I respect one thing I respect about guys like Brock, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, is that they weren't afraid to walk away. They traded the business the way that they were supposed to. A lot of guys, they do it for the passion and all that stuff. I love that Brock it's just he's like, "No, I'm gonna do it. I'm an independent contractor. I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna protect myself. That's the way you gotta do it. They'll walk all right over you if you don't." As far as the Vince McMahon stuff, I agree to you to an extent, but from it, I don't know, I haven't been following lately, but, he was exchanging text messages. He coulda easily been like, "I don't want anything to do with this." You know what I mean? And just said, "Hey, Vince, there's a level of accountability he's gotta take for being involved."
Unless I agree with you, bro, and you and I will never know this
Right.
unless he was doing it jokingly.
Yeah.
You know
Fair.
what you know what I mean,
Fair.
bro, and we don't know. I mean, we don't know. You may be 100% dead on. Maybe Brock was taking it lightly as a joke, like, my God, this guy really is out of his mind talking about Vince,
Mm.
but Vince instigated it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Vince is the one that started it, and, I just hate that he has to deal with that when he was kinda dragged into it.
Yeah, and you're right. We don't we don't really know
Right.
what level of involvement each has.
Yeah.
I just think to myself, I'm like, everybody's gotta take accountability for their own actions, and if he did, I know from what I read that there was never any physical contact, he never actually did anything, there were just some text messages and maybe
Yeah.
some pictures sent back and forth that Vince definitely instigated it appears as part of some contract negotiation that he's
Right.
trying to
Right.
do.
Right.
But, there's a level of that where I look at it as and I'm a lawyer, right? So I look at it and I go, "Okay, well, certainly looks like Vince knew that Brock would be into it, and Brock kind of encouraged it." So it's hard because it's like as the attorney in me, I go, "We really gotta figure out, the jurors are gonna know all the evidence. We're just hearing bits and pieces that everybody wants us to know right now for purposes of media." You know what I mean?
Oh, you know what it is, but and you're right, and here's what a jury is also not going to know and not going to understand. You're dealing with Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Bunch
saying?
of and a bunch
Bro
of crazy pro
yeah,
wrestlers.
bro, I say this all the time, bro. I swear to God, this is the God honest truth. When Vince told me, "Vince, I don't know why you don't hire a nanny to watch your kids."
Yeah.
Bro, 99% of everybody else would have hired a nanny the next day
Right.
because it's Vince. And oh my God, Vince, if I don't hire a nanny, am I going to lose my job? Am I 99%? So it's like when when Vince used to say something or Vince was a part of it, you had to take into consideration it's Vince. And
The power he
the
had.
power
Yeah.
there's going to be consequences and ramifications to your decision. You've got to know that. So it's not like you're just dealing with a normal human being, but like you said, a jury is not going to understand that. But being in the business, something involving Vince, that's what comes with it, man.
I mean, when you think about it, there are still guys who are just incredibly loyal to him even
Yep.
now. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And
Yep.
so,
Yep.
yeah, I
Yep.
hear you. So, the other thing I wanted to ask you, it's interesting because I thought to myself as I was seeing over the weeks as this process went along with Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton and then the phone call thing and it ended up being Pat McAfee. I thought to myself, I was like, "I wonder what Russo thinks about this," right? What did you think about the Pat McAfee angle and
Yeah.
all that?
Bro, I kept saying this all along, man, and you guys can follow the story. Everything was hunky dory. They were making money hand over fist. We're hearing all about these record gates, these record gates, these record gates. Okay. But here's the problem. While all this was going on, the product sucked.
Mm.
And then we would hear, all I used to hear is, oh, yeah, Vince, you don't know what they're talking about because they're making so much money. And I would sit here as a writer and I would say, if the product continues to suck, it's going to catch up with them.
Mm.
And let's face it, the money is coming from the deals with Netflix, the Saudi Arabia, ESPN. That's where the money's coming from.
Yeah, it's not coming
But
from the live gates anymore. Yeah.
exactly. But if bad creative continues to happen, it's going to catch up with them. And that's what happened. And that's when I said, bro, the only way there is ever going to be any kind of a change is when the money starts going down. And that's exactly what happened, bro. They had 2 nights of WrestleMania that they did not sell out. The numbers are down from last year. Now you got Ari Emanuel's attention. Now you got Shapiro's attention. What the hell is going on? We're supposed to be making more money this year than last year. At that point, they're going to get involved. And I just think, bro, to me, when I was watching this build the last couple of weeks to WrestleMania, it just reeked of desperation. We've got to sell tickets. We got to get asses in those seats. Bro, I had no problem with the McAfee involvement if you would have started it 3 months ago.
Right.
If this were a story, if this were a build, great. But that's not the way they did it. A lot of things they did at the end came out of nowhere. And it
Yeah.
was all an effort to try to sell those tickets. And that's the way it came across.
Yeah, you know, it was interesting. I was thinking about that as night one, John Cena got out there and was announcing the attendance, and he kind of made it sound like there's been lots of speculation of what it's going to be, and I was like, oh, maybe they sold a bunch of tickets last minute, like maybe it's bigger than we thought it was going to be. And then when they said 50,000 or something, and I was like 50,000, I was like, I was at WrestleMania 42 years ago, and they had 75,000 each night.
Yeah.
There's 150,000 people. They were touting about how they sold over 200,000 tickets to all the shows. And I was like, and I remember being in Philly and it was literally a WrestleMania takeover, you know, like
Mhm.
everywhere you went, it
Yeah.
was wrestling. And I didn't go either year to Vegas, but especially and I was wondering, I was like, what do you think it's the creative? Do you think it's the massive ticket price increase? Or do you think it's a combination of both?
I gotta tell you something, bro. It's a combination of both. But here's what was an eye opener to me, bro. When's the last time you've been in Vegas?
Oh, I mean, I don't think I've never been, but,
Bro, I was there. Okay.
mhm,
We know the ticket prices to go to the event and all that. Okay. Bro, put that aside. The price of buying a snack in Vegas. Bro, I bought a cup of coffee and a plain croissant. That was the cheapest thing I could eat, bro.
mm,
$20.
wow,
The prices of the food to eat were absolute. Bro, there is no way you can bring your family to a WrestleMania event. Absolutely no. Forget about the ticket prices. To have to feed a family of 4 3 times a day, bro, I literally did not eat because
mm,
I didn't want to pay the money that they were charging for prices. It was insane. So when you look at that whole picture, bro, God, bro, 2 things are happening. Either you're wealthy and the money doesn't matter, or you are putting this on a charge card. And
Yeah.
bro, if you're putting this on a charge card, you're going to be paying this thing off for the next 10 years, man.
Yeah, and the thing it's interesting though, I remember when the tickets went on sale because I took all my kids to WrestleMania 39, all 4 of them, and then my girls were like, "Okay, I've been, I don't wanna go again." And so my boys went with me to 40, and they were all in both years. And then this year, I was like, the year before, I was like, "Let's do a Royal Rumble instead of a WrestleMania," right? So we ended up doing Indy and going to a Royal Rumble. This year, I was like, "Hey, what do you guys what do you think?" To my youngest son, who's 12, and I go, "You wanna go to Vegas and do WrestleMania, a quick flight? We could go out there Thursday through Sunday." And he was like, "Nah." Like, "That's cool." And we actually ended up going doing the Survivor Series because we'd never seen a War Games before, so we kinda and by the way, that's a whole different story. The way we were the way that the WWE has recently been doing tickets, I was really bothered. We ended up buying tickets. They didn't say anything about a limited view or anything like that. We get to the venue and we're behind the stage, like literally behind the stage.
Yeah.
I couldn't see anything. And so my son sat there while I walked up to the front and there was a line, like just I stood in the line for about an hour trying to get moved. And then they moved me to another spot that also was limited view. And so I was like, I looked, and then by that time the security guard just like, just sit wherever you want.
Yeah.
Find a seat and
Yeah.
sit wherever you want.
Yeah.
And so by the time we did, and it was fine once we sat down, but I missed half the show. My son, half the show was sitting behind a giant stage watching on a screen. You know what I mean? And we
Yeah.
flew down to San Diego. We're in Sacramento, so it was a quick flight, but like, and so anyway, but that's beside the point. Back to WrestleMania. So,
Bro,
you
go
know,
see instead of spending your money, to go to WrestleMania, go see the River Cats, bro. The River Cats.
oh, I know we've been to a lot of River Cats games,
Yeah.
and the A's are in town now, and so we've done a
Yeah,
bunch of A's games,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
it kind of cool to see them. But we're still, I mean, you're a Giants fan, and
Yeah.
Oracle Park's one of the most beautiful places in
Oh
the world,
god, yeah.
so we
God,
go there
yeah.
all the time. Rough start, but
Oh, bro, please, man. Don't even get me started on that, man.
yeah, yeah. But so the other thing is this is what you brought up something really interesting, and that is that they keep going back on the top to Roman Reigns, and then Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley and these guys. It also seemed like they were trying to bring up some guy. Trick Williams won a match. Obafemi beat Brock Lesnar, so they got a couple of guys they're working with. But I was thinking about some of these other wrestlers who were the champions, like Stephanie Vakir, and
Yeah.
I was like, I remember asking my son, I'm like, "What's so special about her? I don't get
Yeah.
it." She just does that weird thing with her legs where she's, like, slamming them into the ground with her legs and her butt's hanging out.
Yeah.
But, like, other than that, like, I don't really understand why people are into him. Obafemi, I get it, right? He's a spectacle, right?
Yeah.
But some of these guys, I'm like, I don't know. Do you have any guys that you've seen that are, in NXT or maybe these guys that you go, "Man,
Can I tell you something that's gonna blow you away?
yeah, let's hear it."
So I'm at the WrestleCon on God, I gotta get my days straight. I'm at WrestleCon on Friday,
Okay.
and I'm kind of being very perceptive. What are people talking about? What are they wearing? Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I gotta tell you, number one, nobody was talking about WrestleMania.
Interesting.
Nobody. There was no buzz. Nobody was excited. Nobody was talking about it. Number two, I'm looking around at what they're wearing. And of course, number one, without a shadow of a doubt, was the WrestleMania Vegas shirt.
Yeah.
You're in
Mhm.
Vegas, you're going to buy the WrestleMania shirt without a shadow of a doubt. But I'm looking and I am not seeing any individual shirts.
Mm.
I ain't seeing Cody shirts. I'm not seeing Roman. I'm not seeing anybody's shirt. Bro, do you know what was the only shirt that I saw multiple times outside of the WrestleMania Vegas? Guess what was the one shirt that I did see numerous times?
I'm gonna guess Joe Hendry, but I don't know.
Bro, Danhausen.
No kidding.
I
Danhausen.
swear to God, I was looking. I was
Wow.
looking for other shirts.
Wow.
Danhausen was far and away the most popular shirt. But it's bro, again, there's not going to be anything special about these people if they don't have a story. Bro, listen, they just brought up one right after the other a bunch of African Americans that look like $1,000,000. I mean,
Mhm. Mhm.
Obafemi and all these guys Trick Williams look like $1,000,000. And I'm watching these guys come in. The young kid, John, what's the young kid's name? Evans.
Javon Evans,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. And I'm looking at all these guys, but then I'm like, bro, you've had Montez Ford on the roster for how long? Bro, there's nobody better than him.
He's great.
So I'm looking at if you can't get Montez Ford over after 10 years or however long he's been on the roster, how do you think you're going to get these other guys over? That's the problem, bro. They're just putting everybody out there to wrestle.
Oh, and
There's no more to them. So, bro, what they've created a factory at NXT. That's what
Mhm.
they've did. People go through the factory. Hey, bro, Braun Breaker gets hurt. No problem. Take that part out and put this part in. That's what they've done. But, like I said, because you're not developing character and you're not developing storylines, everybody's just wrestling.
Yeah. And on Montez Ford, I got an opportunity to meet him and Bianca Belair at a Pacers game when I went to the Royal Rumble, and they were like the honorary WWE guys at the thing. And I gotta tell you, the charisma he had even just getting on the floor and then, getting up into the crowd. I mean, people who weren't wrestling fans were really enjoying him. He
Oh,
just
yeah.
has a charisma that you can't really teach, you
Yeah,
know?
him and Bianca had a little, reality show, and you could see that. I mean,
Yeah.
these two are bona fide superstars. So, how do you do nothing with them? That's what blows my mind.
Well, they brought him in to, who do they just had him on Raw. The both of them,
Street
the Street
Profits. Yeah,
Profits
the
came
Street
in and they were they helping CM Punk? I can't
Out
remember.
out of nowhere, just out
Yeah,
of nowhere.
just
Yeah,
randomly, and I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh, they're back," and you know what I mean? And it's interesting that they just kinda threw that back in there.
yeah, yeah.
So well, so you were a part of well, let's talk about the collective, and then let's talk a little bit about JCW and Stranglemania. Because when I saw the numbers and I was like 1 AM, because I remember, I've been to WrestleMania 31, and I saw they kinda did a very similar thing in 31, and then in 39 and 40, they had a similar thing where there was just kind of a group of indie shows in one spot, and, so when you had 500 people at 1 AM, I was like, "That's a lot of people for that time slot." So, what do you think it was that drew that many people? Do you think it's your stories in the
Oh,
YouTube show?
I definitely think it's the show, man, because,
Mhm.
there's no show like JCW. I mean, it is 1000% characters and storyline driven. We try to keep the matches short. There's no question about that. I mean, I started writing about six months ago, and they were averaging like 10,000 views per show.
Mhm.
The last show we did like 45,000 views in the first week.
Wow.
And it's definitely the show which is telling you people are still interested in that type of a product.
That's interesting, and then you also had Vampiro's retirement, match in there. So, you have a long storied history, I believe, with Vampiro and, Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope. So, tell me how that kinda came about and what the decision process in deciding to have that there.
Yeah, bro, I'll be honest with you, man, 1000% because I never take credit where credit's not due. Stranglemania was Violent J's baby. Like,
Mm.
he
Mhm.
booked it, he laid it out, he got the talent, he wrote it. I was there obviously to help him in any way that I could, but that was really his baby from top to bottom. He laid out the matches. He pitched Vamp the retirement tour. So that was really his show.
Yeah, wow. So, um, did you, even though that was his show, was there somebody that you feel kind of, every there's kind of a mentality for pro wrestlers of, hey, let's steal the show. Was there anyone there that you looked at and kind of said, man, they really stole the show?
Well, I'll tell you who I was really impressed by, seeing him, in person.
Mhm.
Bro, like, I did not realize how well Matt Riddle was put together.
Mm.
When I work with Goldberg, and
Mhm.
I saw Matt Riddle for the first time, and I'm like, "Yeah, Matt Riddle could kick Goldberg's ass." Like, he is a physical I mean, bro, his thighs were like a freaking thoroughbreds.
Mm.
And I mean, my God, you talk about blue chip athletes. I was really, really, really impressed seeing him up close.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
You guys gonna be using him a lot more, you think, or was that kind of a
Yeah,
one-off?
I hope so, man. A lot of with JCW, bro, is and this is indie wrestling across the board. It just comes down to dollars and cents.
Yeah.
It really does, man. And that's why if you can create your own guys, it's going to save you a lot of money.
Oh,
And
for sure.
that's really what we're trying to do with JCW.
Yeah. Now, you're on YouTube. Is there an ultimate goal with JCW? Is there something that you're like, "Here's something we'd like to do, like a TV deal or
Yeah, we
something
we
like that?"
we we've got professionals right now, in the TV business trying to sell the show.
Okay.
That's going on right now. So obviously, we want to try to take this to the next level.
Yeah, and do you see, because I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about TV is such an interesting business right now because of all the streaming. Are you guys focusing more on traditional TV products or streaming services
Yeah,
or
I mean, I still think, man, they just did this study in the Wall Street Journal, and basically the results were, bro, people still watch TV. The
Yeah.
majority of people still watch TV. So if you're asking me,
Mhm.
I'd rather get a TV deal or I'd rather get a cable deal. I swear to God, we were talking baseball a few minutes ago, right?
Mhm.
So for years and years and years and years, I would get the extra innings package,
Right.
and you're getting every single game of every single team.
Mhm.
Well, with streaming, now we've sold some games to Netflix, and now we've
Yeah.
sold some games to Apple, and now I don't know where to find the games
Yeah.
anymore.
That's
Literally, man, I'm going to look for a game. I gotta. It takes me 15 minutes to track down the game,
yeah.
and the same with wrestling. And I hate that, man. And I want it to be easy and simple. Everybody knows TV, everybody knows networks, everybody knows cable stations, but with these streaming services competing with each other, it's very, very hard to find what you wanna watch.
Yeah, I'm watching the NBA playoffs right now, and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh, okay, yesterday all the games were on Peacock, today
yeah,
they're on Prime, tomorrow they're on ESPN." And
yeah,
I have YouTube TV. I have YouTube TV for live sports, right?
yeah.
I mean, and so I'm like, "I'll just watch it on YouTube TV. I'll just turn on
And
what,"
they did and obviously the NCAA tournament, it was the
Yeah,
same exact thing. You had a hunt for freaking games. Being a sports fan today really sucks, and that pisses me off about MLB because you were paying for that package, one price and getting every game.
yeah,
Now you're not getting those games that are on the other outlets. The price hasn't come down, so
no.
now I'm paying the same amount of money for less games.
It's funny too, going back to Wrestlemania, it was on ESPN Plus or whatever, and then, the first hour was on ESPN, and then it was on ESPN Plus, and I remember, like, halfway through the show being like, "Why do they have all this WrestleMania in between all these ads?" You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly,
Because
man,
because it was like
exactly, bro.
every match and then the ad part, and I'm like, 4 minutes of ads?
And
You know
then
what I mean?
and then add the entrances to that.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, please, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it was li and, I was like, "Yeah, I miss the days where I paid $50 and just got to watch a wrestling show go all the way through."
That's
You know what
it.
I mean?
Yeah,
And so,
man.
I'm paying $30 a month for the ESPN app, and then I'm paying $20 for Netflix. You know what I mean? I'm just like, "This is
Absolutely.
crazy." So,
Yep.
yeah, it's nuts. Well, so I wanted to also talk to you well, let's go back to WrestleMania for a minute. If you if you had the product right now and you were, writing for WWE, is there somebody in particular that you think they're missing the boat on?
Oh god, bro. I just I don't watch it as I don't watch it as closely as I do. I think one of their major problems is they bring up too many people at once.
Mm,
When you bring up too many people at once, bro, nobody's getting over. I could tell you right now because now you're trying to split that spotlight 6 different ways. Nobody gets over. The old school way of doing it is you'd have the vignettes.
yeah,
You'd build up maybe 6 weeks of vignettes, then you would introduce them, then you're concentrating on that one talent. Now, maybe after concentrating on that one talent, 3 weeks, 3 months later, we bring in the next guy.
yeah,
Like, I was watching the highlights. Bro, listen, all I do now on Raw and SmackDown is watch the YouTube highlights.
yeah.
That's all I watch, and I'm watching the highlights yesterday. Bro, I don't watch NXT. I'm not
Mhm,
gonna sit there and watch freaking amateurs. I
right.
don't watch minor league baseball, you know?
Uh-huh.
So,
Mhm,
this Ethan Page comes up.
mhm,
Bro, this is Johnny Gargano all over again.
mm,
This guy's never gonna get over. He's
mhm,
another wrestler. He's just another wrestler. And that's the thing, man. You just keep bringing these people up one right after another and nobody gets over. And bro, how many people have we seen them get to this level and then we see this?
yeah,
You see that with everybody. Tiffany Stratton. You
yeah,
you see that with everybody. Bro, that's not the way it's supposed to happen.
yeah,
It's supposed to be continuous climb. But
right.
every single person, they get to a certain point and then they start coming down. That's bad booking.
Yeah, do you think that well, so, okay, I remember hearing that there was some issues when they had I can't remember what the match was. I think it was I don't know if it was the Triple Threat or the War Games match or something like Elimination Chamber where they were saying they're like, there was just a lot of backstage politicking about who was gonna go back and forth. Do you think that some of these guys it has to do with the backstage politicking?
1000%. 1000.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt,
Mm.
1000%.
I found it really interesting, and I know Jacob Fatu because he's from Sacramento, he's from the indie scene here, right? And, his dad's Tom the Kid, he's very much involved, his brother Journey is still around here working in the Bay Area, and, but I saw Jacob Fatu is gonna be working, Roman Reigns now in the next pay-per-view, and I'm like, "We're back to the Samoans on top," and I just think that's really interesting when you mentioned Tiffany Stratton, it seemed like she had a rocket ship, getting her up there, and now you don't see anything about her. I know she got injured, but
Yeah,
still.
they do that with everybody. Do that with because I was looking at the thing and I'm like, "Okay, bro, they're gonna go with Jacob Fatu. Are they really gonna take the belt off Roman Reigns after 1 month?"
Oh, no,
And
no,
if
not at all.
so what does that do for Jacob Fatu?
Yeah.
See, their idea, bro, is here's the disconnect because they're in the wrestling bubble.
Mhm,
Their idea is if Jacob Fatu has a great match with Roman Reigns, it's
mhm,
gonna get Jacob Fatu over.
mhm.
That's the mentality. That's the wrestling bubble. The casual wrestling fan is, no, you lost, bro.
Yeah,
You lost. There's
right.
no rub. There's no, oh, it was a great match. You lost. Bro, the whole idea of every single match is to get everybody over. You've got to protect everybody. They never do that anymore, man.
Yeah, and back to your point about the vignettes, I was just thinking as you were I was imagining, I remember Val Venus
Yep.
had, like, 6 weeks, and then Edge
Yep,
too,
yep,
and the last one I remember them doing that with was Bray Wyatt, and he got over
yep,
huge because
yep,
the second he came out, the crowd went nuts.
yep.
You know what I mean? And so it's interesting because, yeah, I mean, the NXT, do you think that some of these guys are overexposed before they show up, or what do you think?
I think the system is definitely flawed and broken.
Mhm,
And we have to go back years and years and years ago, and I gotta give them credit for this, when Triple H told Ryback, "There will never be another John Cena."
mm,
Because what he was saying is nobody is ever going to be bigger than the company again. There's not going to be a Rock that can go off to Hollywood or a
mhm,
Batista that can go. We are going to be in control of everybody. That's what he's saying.
mhm,
And that's what they've done. They've done exactly that. You are only going to go so over so they can control you. They've done exactly that.
interesting, man. Well, moving on to another topic, you finally had an opportunity to talk with Tony Khan. And, some people have said you've been very critical of him. I thought that the conversation, you were very respectful, to him, but also didn't pull back on him. What was your thoughts on the generally on the
Yeah,
conversation?
I gotta say this. The Dave Meltzes of the world, bro, kiss my freaking ass.
Mm,
Okay. I have not been critical of Tony Khan, and I'll tell you why. Bro, I haven't watched an episode of AEW in 5 years.
mm,
5 years. So I never talk about AEW because I don't watch it.
mm,
So I can't tell you whether AEW is good or bad or Tony Khan's booking is brilliant.
mm,
So the brainwashing of Vince Russo has always been
mm.
critical. I don't watch freaking AEW. If I've been critical of Tony Khan, it's not critical at all. It's advice.
Mm,
Tony, open up the product to the masses.
mhm,
Get away from this niche audience. You've already got them. You
mhm.
got to go over the other bit. To me, that's not critical. That's helpful.
Right.
So the idea that all these years I've been critical of Tony Khan is absolute bullshit.
Mm,
My whole idea going into that, honestly, was first of all, let's say this.
mhm.
If you have the opportunity to have a discussion with a billionaire,
Right.
I want to get something out of that conversation
Sure, sure.
without a shadow of a doubt. But I wanted to get an understanding of why Tony Khan does things the way he does.
Mm,
And I think I did that. I mean, my walk away with Tony was he loves AEW. He loves the show that he writes. He believes in the product and the show that he writes. His niche audience loves the show that he writes. And that's all he wants. I
mhm.
mean, that's it. Like he's totally, totally, totally content with that. And bro, that's fine. I can't argue that. Like
Yeah.
if you love the show you're writing and your fan base loves the show and everybody in that circle is happy, I can't sit here and argue with that. I could only tell you from my point of view, my whole goal would be to get as many people to watch this show as possible.
Right.
That would be my goal. But Tony is very, very, very content with what he has.
Yeah. I mean, I think I remember just seeing CM Punk talk about him with what's his name? Who's the anyway, it doesn't matter. Ariel, Helwani or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
He was talking about Tony Khan, and he said, "Well, he said, "The purpose of AEW is not to make money." And he goes, "Well, what is the purpose?" And he goes, "I don't know, have good matches." Like, and I think that he's actually kinda right, right? I mean, that was the takeaway I got. Tony Khan, and that this is not a derogatory comment because it appears they're making money, right? He's not losing money, but he just reminds me of a wrestling fan who has a wrestling product, and
Yeah.
he's using the he's using the wrestlers like they're his wrestlers that he was playing as a
And
kid.
and also let's be honest because we will never know this.
Mhm.
We know Shad is a billionaire 10 times over. Okay,
Right,
his dad is makes money out the ass. Bro, for all we know, this could be a tax write-off.
right.
Tony could have pitched AEW, and in Shad's mind, you know what, bro? Go do it. If you make a lot of money, great. If you lose money, it'll be a tax write-off. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
yeah.
so and when you look at it that way,
Mhm.
that sheds a whole different perspective on it. And it could very well be that.
Yeah, could be. Well, the thing that I also found really interesting about the interview, one thing I appreciate about you is I do believe everything that you're saying is very genuine. You believe everything you say. And when I've watched interviews with Tony Khan, kind of a politician, you know what I mean? And what I mean by that is he doesn't answer a lot of questions. And I saw that a little bit in your interview. You guys, you and Coach both tried to kind of hold his feet to the fire and make him answer me. I think he answered more than he generally did. But was it frustrating for you when
Oh
you were
yeah,
asking
bro.
some questions?
When we first started, that's what I was getting. And like me and coach agreed beforehand, no way, bro.
Yeah.
We ain't doing it. We're
Mhm.
not letting you do it. And it kind of started that way. I could
Yeah.
tell with some of the answers. That's why a lot of people, bro, they're so effing clueless. Like a lot, I can't tell you how many times Vince was kissing Tony's ass, looking for a job. Bro, the reason I was trying to throw some comedy in there was to freaking loosen him up. Bro,
Yeah.
you're not on any hot seat. This is a conversation, man. We're just trying to get into your head to understand why you do the things you're doing. Freaking relax, bro.
Yeah.
This isn't a gotcha interview. There's nothing to get you on. We
Yeah.
we we just wanna have a conversation with you, so maybe people watching this interview will understand you better.
It's interesting too because I even just I'm an attorney. I do a lot of depositions, and so I follow a lot of people's body language and things, and even just things that he was doing where you would ask a question, you'd be like, "Great question, really appreciate it." Let me just and I'm going, dude, it just already sounds you
Yes,
you
yes,
you already sound like you're selling something, right?
yes,
Just
yep,
like I would have really loved a real like to him to just go, "Yeah, this is the wrestling," 'cause, I kinda read between the lines. As a wrestling fan, or as someone who's been involved, I could kinda read between the lines, and he basically was saying, "This is the product I love,
yeah,
so I want it to look this way."
yeah,
And I wish he woulda just said that,
yeah,
and said, or even, like, the questions, I never really figured out what is it that the Young Bucks do as the
yeah,
MVPs, right? Like, you guys
yeah,
pushed, and he never really came to, well, they help a little bit with the matches, and they help a little, but I'm like, "Well, what do they do day to day to
yeah,
get that extra EVP
yeah,
paycheck?" And you
exactly,
know what I mean? And,
yeah,
I got a little bit more with Kenny Omega, where he's like, he helps with the digital product and stuff like that. I go, "Oh, that's kinda interesting." But
yeah,
that's the kinda stuff that just someone who's ran, at the lowest level in indie promotion and understands how the wrestling business kinda works. I'm always fascinated with stuff like that. Like, I got the opportunity to go behind the scenes at a Royal Rumble Wrestlemania in, 2020, right before COVID hit. And I was backstage there, and just the mass amount of people putting
oh
it
yeah,
on, I just went like, "Wow, this is just so much b." But the thing that was cool is I was like, "This is indie wrestling, but, like, on the biggest stage as you
yeah,
possibly could,"
yeah, yep,
right? And I was like, "It's so amazing, all the makeup people," and even just, like, looking how this is gonna sound terrible, and I don't want it to, but, like, how much makeup the women have to put on for it
yeah,
to look like that on TV. Like, on
yeah.
TV, you don't even see how much makeup they're wearing, but they need to put on that much makeup for the TV.
Especially too, I mean, that was a big issue when we went to, what did it go to 4D or whatever? When
Yeah.
that was a big issue because we knew you were gonna see a lot more than you did before, and that was a big issue when we jumped to that.
Yeah, so it was just really interesting, and so I really wish I could have heard a little bit more. I've heard a little bit because some of the guys that I've had have worked at, like, an AEW Dark or for example I did also wanna ask you, this is gonna change subjects a little bit. Do you have any thoughts on Powerhouse Hobbs Royce Keys? He won the Battle Royal. Have you had an opportunity to see much of him?
I mean, I know who he is, and again, I'm just going to say, when you bring in too many guys at once, nobody's gonna get over.
Yeah.
You because you've got to put the spotlight on them, and when you're moving that spotlight around, nobody's gonna get over.
Yeah, you know, the reason I bring him up, so he used to work for me when I was running a wrestling promotion here. He trained at
Okay.
All Pro Wrestling in San Francisco. This is 10, 15 years ago. And I gotta tell you, if there's ever a guy who worked harder, there I don't know who he is because anytime the WWE was at Golden One, Arco Arena, wherever, he was outside trying to get in and asking people how to get there, right? And
Yeah,
he was just pushing and pushing and pushing, working on his body. He and all those things, and so then I hear from friends, they didn't wanna put him on the show yet, and he's like, "Let me work dark matches then. Let me work it, let me," and I was just like, "Dude, this guy, nobody wants it more," and
yeah,
so it's so cool to see him finally he won the Andre the Giant, Memorial Battle Royal, which I thought was super cool, and I just really hope that he doesn't get lost in that system.
he will.
Yeah, see, it stinks because
Bro, they're bro, here's the thing, man. I'm watching Unreal, and
Mhm,
I'm looking at everybody in that room.
mhm,
And as a writer, here's my question to them. Where are your credentials?
mm,
I don't care how many world champions you've won or how many world champions you've managed. What are your writing and producing and storytelling and character development credentials? They don't have any, bro.
mhm,
That's the problem. They don't have any. There's a reason the Attitude Era was so successful. You had two writers,
mhm,
two bona fide writers. When Ferraro and Russo left, the wrestlers took over again. And
mhm,
ever since then, you've been getting a wrestling show.
mhm.
And that is the problem. So I don't care if you're a Hobbs. I don't care if you're an Obafemi. Bro, we see what's happening with Danhausen right now.
Yeah.
They are so overexposing this guy. I'm seeing this guy everywhere. In
Mhm.
3 months, they're gonna have burnt this guy out. Bro, this is the company. Think about this. This is the company that released Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Everybody should have been fired. The
Yeah.
day Bray Wyatt got released, everybody in creative should have been fired.
Yeah, he was a creative genius, and that's the thing, the Danhausen thing, I find it so mind-blowing that he is probably like, I went to the Raw before, WrestleMania was here in Sacramento, so I took my son to it, and, on a commercial break, he came out,
Mhm,
got biggest pop of the night,
mhm.
and I was like, the guy hasn't even had a wrestling match, and he's the people just love watching my son loves watching him curse somebody and all the stuff he's got going on with The Miz, and it goes to what you're saying, right, is that it's the stories and the characters that matter, and the moves are just part of the story,
Yep,
right? And
that's it.
so
That's it.
it's interesting to watch. I tried to teach my kids a little bit too, you know, they had that big spot fest ladder match, and that was all cool and all that, but then also the story in the ring where you have CM Punk and Roman Reigns not really doing much, as far as wrestling, or Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes not really doing much, but still getting over. Like, that's the art, you know what I
Yep,
mean? They
yep.
were just pushing the story along, and then, of course, at the end, Randy Orton, turns on Pat McAfee, but then also lays out Cody Rhodes, and you're like, "Okay, this is gonna go far. This isn't the end of the story." And I actually appreciated that. It was like, "Oh, finally there's WrestleMania isn't the end of the story, this is gonna continue." You
Yeah,
know what I mean? And
yeah.
so, so what's next for Vince Russo? You got back, you're finally, you're gonna recover a little bit. What's next?
Bro, that's really it, bro, and I can't tell you, um, where it's going. I mean, I can see the headlines,
Mhm,
because, bro, I'm 65 years old. Okay, I'm in a position right now where I have to pace myself.
mhm,
I cannot do what I used to do. I just can't do it.
mhm,
And JCW is a weekly show on YouTube. We go out on the road. I've got to write the shows. I've got to talk to talent on the phone. I've got to travel. And that's why it's like I'm going to do this, like, as long as I can, but
mhm,
I don't know how long that is. I mean, I'm just being perfectly honest. Like I said, man, I just left for Vegas on Thursday and I got back yesterday. As soon as I get back, I got to jump into my podcasting.
mhm.
I'm not 30 years old anymore, man, So, while I'm at JCW, I'm going to, just give them my absolute best. I'm going to try to pace myself so I can, hopefully get longevity out of it, but I honestly don't know.
Yeah, but I gotta tell you, man, like, if you would have told yourself at 20 that at 65 you'd still be doing this, how cool is that?
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, like I swear to God, Dave, Dave Meltzer made a comment the other day, and the comment was, "I haven't been successful since 1999."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Bro, how is that even possible when this is 2026 and I'm still doing it?"
Yeah.
So then you gotta ask, Dave, what is your definition of successful?
Well, I gotta tell you, he is like the number one quote unquote wrestling journalist, and he's still talking about you in 2026. So
Exactly. It's like, brother, I've been doing this since 1991, and like you said, if you woulda told me in 1991 you're gonna be doing this, and I would've said, "Bro, you're out of your freaking mind." But the reality is, bro, like, it's coming to an end. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But, bro, always with every company I ever worked for, when I'm working for you, I'm going to always give it my absolute best until I just can't do it no more. That's it.
yeah, man. I gotta say, like, it's cool to me. One of the reasons I love talking to you is you know, like I was just saying this to my son. We were, I actually put this on my social media. I was looking at I have a movie theater in my house, so I had, family, my loved ones over, and we watched Wrestlemania in my theater, and I was like, "Dear 12-year-old Josh, we did it." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
and I'm just sitting there and I think, man, I love talking to you because it's like, you did it, man. Like, you're 65 and you're, like, still doing it, and people are still talking about you, and you're still involved. That's,
And
like,
bro,
amazing.
here's the hardest part for me, bro, to be honest with you, because, bro, I gotta tell you, like, I get back from these trips and my wife looks at me and she's like, "Bro, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing?" Bro, here's the problem, especially, like, here with JCW. Bro, you get so bonded with the talent.
Yeah.
You know what it is? That you feel indebted to them, and you start thinking about, "My God, if I leave tomorrow, what happens to so and so, and what happens?" That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not the money, bro. It is not my love for the business. I
Yeah.
promise you that. This is work. This is work. But you form the relationships, and then you really care about these people, and then it's like, what if I was here? What happens to them? That's the tough part.
Yeah, man, and the thing is, dude, is that, like, that's the wrestling business as a whole. Whether you're at the lowest level or all the way to the WWE, it just sucks you in, it becomes part of your blood because yeah, like, there are so many people in wrestling that I never would have met any other place, and they become some
Yeah,
of my best friends that I love,
yeah,
and it's like, it's a family, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
yeah,
Even at the lowest indie levels where you're working at gas stations and all that
yeah,
stuff, there's just a bond there, and it's
yeah,
you can't really find that anywhere else, and I just
yeah,
think it really says a lot about you that you came from journalism and you became basically one of the boys. Like, you became one of the guys who was able to make it and make a living on pro wrestling, and there's not a lot of people in the world that can say that, and that's pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it is, but it's, bro, here's the thing, man. I tell people this all the time. I'm 65 years old, especially in this business. Bro, the grind never stops.
Never.
If you're waiting for the grind to stop, you're gonna be waiting for a long time because when you stop grinding, that's when it's over.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, man, it's been great talking to you. This has been an awesome podcast. Always love having you on. We'll have to do it again,
Yeah, no, definitely. I always enjoy talking to you, man. It's always
yeah.
a good interview, man.
Yeah. Well, for anybody who's, listening, where just tell them where they can find your podcast and where they can find JCW.
Yeah, guys, JCW new episode every Thursday night on YouTube, 7 o'clock Eastern, JCW Lunacy. Guys, if you've never been a Patreon member of mine, you can get a free week. You could try us out. Just go to patreon.com/Russo TWC.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. And anybody who hasn't subscribed yet, you need to subscribe to my podcast too. And we have more stuff coming up. So we'll talk to you again later. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Vince.
Thank you, man.